Oh my goodness. What's the glare doing up so damn early? No, seriously, like I'm speaking at myself in a third person. Like, what the hell am I doing up so early? Now, I went to bed like pretty early for me last night anyway. I went to bed pretty early. Um and I thought, well, I'm going to work late tonight. Do a late night live tonight, you know. But whatever. Let me see. Let me see what's going on in chat with people who are normally okay. Lona Love, Phantasmagorical, Turn Her Life Around. Welcome to Patreon, by the way. Holly Marie, Shelby B, Shelby M. Why did I say Amanda Reed, Nicole H, Susie 777, Tina Kenya 243, Jane Starr, Michelle Lambert, Tia, as you can tell by the title, I don't have anything real in particular to talk about today. I just have a few hours to kill because yesterday I went into to the gym, work, but to the gym pretty early yesterday, and I did like everything. So if you don't want your everything workout, you're like, what I had was like a 3-hour workout yesterday, and then on my break worked out again. Well, then you have to have a rest day. And I woke up early. I didn't know what to do with myself, so I figured I would just hang out with you guys a little bit. Because if you don't have rest days, then all that hard work is for nothing. You don't give your muscles a chance to like do anything. You don't give your muscles a chance to grow. You don't. Nicole H, it's early for me because I usually get off work at like midnight. Last night I got off work at like I got home from work like 10, and then I watched a couple things, on TV or whatever, and then I just went to sleep, and I was asleep by like 1 a.m., which is crazy. That's like if you get off work, if you normally get off work at like, I don't know, I want to say if you normally get off work at like 5 p.m. and then you're asleep for the night by 6 p.m. Well, yeah. Yeah. Hold on, let's see. Declare, I'd tell people to join Patreon at the beginning of a month. I joined yesterday and got to pay again Sunday as they take the money first of every month. I don't know how that works. Listen, Nicole H, nobody got sassy with you about your, maybe I did, but that's not a win on your part. Okay, so you noticed the sound was a little weird on my mic and you called it out. Okay, nobody made you feel ostracized for being right about the mic. What time is it in the UK right now? I don't have any idea what time it is in the UK right now. And I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is Listen, I don't do military time. Ooh la la, Lisa. Okay, I know what that means. 18, 16. What is that? A year? um. Yeah. I okay. So 620, 618. And I'm being a smartass to ooh la la Lisa for doing military time. So, but her doing that showed me that it's PM. So it's this is like prime time for the UK. Wow, how about that? That's pretty amazing. And coffee actually does taste a lot better when you first wake up. All right, so we're all caught up on our updates on cases as far as what's going on with certain trials, whatnot. Uh, Brittany Gosney is, uh, you know, I mean, she's competent to stand trial. We all knew that was going to happen. She's pleading insanity. Uh, I always see that as being a big risk. To me, I'm not an attorney, but to me, that's a bad look when you plead insanity and then like the judge is like not buying it right off the bat. Well, to me, that's I know Nicole H. I know. Um, to me, that's almost an admission of guilt. It's not a confession. Um, Hold on a second. Let me take care of something real quick. Get your ass out of here. Get your ass out of here. Sorry. I see certain people in my chat and like, you know, when I see, I mean, you're not gonna show up in my chat like everything's all good after you've made all these videos, even though I say that I find these videos somewhat flattering. No, I find the fact that you think about me as much as you do to go out of your way to make videos about me. I find that flattering, but at the same time, I also find it completely and totally insane, and I also find it completely and totally obsessive. And no, I'm not. I'm not tickled and touched by the fact that somebody has nothing better to do than to sit there and take all of my. Well, that video that we're talking about, Tart with a Heart. That's that video is actually not bad. But the thing with that video, the one that I went over, that was actually a very creatively done video. But the creator that I just hid from the studio just now, or hid from my channel just now, that's yeah, she didn't make that video. She makes trash shitty videos because she's obsessed and crazy to the point to where she's actually bothered other creators with her obsession with me, and they're all just like, wow, you're weird. So and they're still completely oblivious to their own behavior, which is, what else could you expect? Yeah, it is weird. Tart with a Heart. It's absolutely weird. And speaking of which, I mean, it's funny. There's another creator who seems to have moved on from me anyway, but not from certain subjects that. And it sucks because it's like for some reason now, I don't know what it is. I'm like when I unsubscribe from somebody, right? When I unsubscribe from somebody, that means that I don't want to hear anything from them ever again. I don't want anything to do with their channel. I don't want anything to do with their content. I don't even want their content to come across my feed. Yet, for some reason now, YouTube has their algorithm set to something where uh, it's going to, whether I'm subscribed to them or not, if I've clicked on their channel at some point in the past, then their stuff shows up on my newsfeed. And I'm talking about like community posts. So there's one creator whose community posts keep showing up, and it's really annoying because I have no interest, no desire at all whatsoever to support this channel or its content. And and like and it's like I don't even want to know what these people are up to. And it's just showing up left and right. And it's really annoying, and it's so there's one creator still totally obsessed with the whole long thing, and now apparently Courtney's mom is blasting stuff all over the internet about Michael Long's mistress wearing Courtney's clothing and taking pictures with it. And if you look close enough at the picture of the beer can, you can see Michael Long's reflection and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, because here's the thing. I don't think that anybody involved in that is important enough to create content off of anymore. Not even in the slightest bit. Nothing. Like, okay, like it's been established. There's nothing criminal that at least we can do anything about at this point. So now at this point, it's just gossip. It's just people's opinion on a personal matter that literally 50% of married couples go through. At least 50%. Because 50% of relationships, 50% of marriages, by statistics, 50% of marriages end in divorce, right? So why would I focus so much on the ins and outs of what happens to literally half of anyone who engages in a relationship? How is that not just pathetic, easy, just shit to scrape? I mean, if you're a pot smoker, if you're a pot smoker, right? Here's the thing about that. To me, that's the equivalent of like scraping resin out of the pipe just to get high. You know, it's covering that crap. You know what I mean? I don't. To me, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as just like scraping your pipe because you don't have anything of actual quality to smoke. So, I mean, like the fact that this is being built up to be, and now it's like, okay, so let's look at how this all started. Everyone got their attention because, let's say, a little girl, right? A little girl cried out for help. Nobody helped her. That was the way we all perceived it. Nobody helped her. And so those of us who have a platform wanted to create awareness and bring some attention to a case that we thought a little girl needed justice and wasn't getting justice. And those of us who are realistic thought, well, okay, well, justice meaning that people whose job it is to look into these things actually look into it, right? That to me is realistically the best justice you could get. Not okay, well, this little girl made an accusation, start throwing everybody in jail who made the accusation. Nobody said that. Nobody did that, right? We just said, look into it. Now, realistically, that the one person who we have to count on in order to make sure that these things happen, to make sure that they make the right impression, to make sure that they get the right attention and get the right people to take them seriously so that they listen to their own child and their claims. Well, this person decided to just act like he's some sort of rock star and got a little too big for his own britches, right? Now, apparently, the person that he's with isn't too big to fit into someone else's britches. But anyway, that's besides the point. But he got a little too big for his britches, started looking at himself like he's a little bit more important than he actually really is, and started really loving the attention he was getting from it. Kindness Cake, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Started really getting the attention, started loving the attention he was getting, started listening to the random emails about, in a community that's full of women, started really listening and taking those emails seriously about how good looking he is and how important what he's doing is, and blah, 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 blah. And then just started focusing on that a little too much and losing focus on what is actually important. So now we're here because now no judge, no civil judge is ever going to take this guy seriously. That's not going to happen. No civil judge is ever going to take this guy seriously. No divorce judge, nothing. No child custody judge. None of that is ever going to happen. But in order for a judge to go, holy crap, something seriously wrong with this criminal investigation. Why wasn't there a criminal investigation taking place? Well, the chances of that happening are now blown because the credibility of everyone involved is fucked. Everyone's done. There's no credibility among any of these people. So that's why I was like, okay, well, that's done. It's a shame. I'm worried about these kids. I'm always going to be worried about these kids. All of us with decent hearts are always going to be worried about these kids. But all of us with common sense and decent hearts also understand that there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do to help these kids at this point. There just isn't. So now what are we going to do? Vanessa R., thank you. Appreciate that. So now what are we going to do about it? Well, again, those of us with common sense, those of us with good hearts, what we do is we move on to the things that we can actually maybe do something about, right? Bring awareness to other situations. Bring awareness to parents who are senselessly murdering their kids. Bring awareness to children who were probably abused and the system could have helped them, but they didn't. And it's too late. Right? So what we target by doing that is a broken system. My focus has not deviated from that. Any of the other creators that were involved in this, I can honestly say, based on their actions since the Long case, those creators, that they have looked, they've moved on, but their focus has remained on the overall issue, not the one person, not the two people or three people involved in one particular case, but these people got involved and stayed involved in the main issue, which is child abuse, child neglect, and the broken system that is designed to help these kids in this situation. See, this was played all wrong, because what people need to understand is people act like a family court. When there's family court and there's kids involved and there's a custody fight, the family court's objective, this is what people always lose sight of. People act like a civil court judge, a family court judge acts as a referee, right? That's not how it works. A family court's judge, a family court, their objective is always to try to keep the family somehow together on whatever level they can possibly take. Even if families they can't reconcile, it's impossible to reconcile, it's possible for them to actually come to terms and stay together and make their family work. Well, the family court's objective is to, if that can't happen, well, let's find a way to somehow on some level keep this family functioning. Even if they're split, let's keep them functioning. Let's keep mom and dad on good terms for the sake of the child. Let's make sure that the child, if possible, can have a good working relationship with the mother and a good working relationship with the father on thank you, Nicole H. Absolutely. Justice for Lil Hutch for sure. And I have no idea. I have no doubt that we're going to get that. But the family court's involvement, their objective is to somehow keep everyone. That's why it's known as civil court. That's why it's considered civil court, not criminal court, because in civil court, the idea is to do what? Is to remain civil. Find a way for everyone to live in some sort of harmony. But the thing is, if we want a criminal case to take place in order to look into a child's very, 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 very serious claims, and we believe that there's a corrupt system, well, you need to build credibility with the civil court. That's the only chance you have. If you think you're fighting against a corrupt criminal system where they're saying that little girl's a liar, there's no way that's going to happen. There's no way that we're even going to bother looking into this any more than we already have. Screw that. The only way to change that is if at least somebody who matters in the civil side of things goes, I don't know, maybe this deserves looking into. Maybe they know somebody. Because I don't see how on paper that could actually do anything, but at least there's the chance. There's the chance to at least build some credibility. And that just didn't take place. That just didn't take place. So think about it. If a judge orders custody to Sophie's mom, and Sophie's mom is still living with this boyfriend, right? If that's happening, if that's taking place, well, I mean, as far as a criminal case goes, they're going to go, well, I mean, why should we bother looking into this? A court of law decided that this was the best environment for this child. What's to look at? Thanks, DCP Ames. You're amazing too. I mean, so as far as I'm concerned, and I don't like to speak for other creators, but I'm assuming it's the same case with other creators. Like, there's no point at this point. There's no chance of a criminal investigation taking place. The one that we were complaining about for so long was not taking place. Now I don't see how there's even a chance of that happening. But what that does is show you. It shows you what aspects are important to people and what aspects weren't. Now we're split because those of us who are actually concerned for the issue and concerned for children that are in this situation or in a situation described as this one being, well, there's only, I mean, you can't sit here and act like what was important to most of these people wasn't the drama, because now everybody's still focused on the drama. Not everybody. Most people moved on. But let's face it. You got the stepmom. Now her mom is blasting all over Facebook, saying this, saying that, and basically just stirring up more of the same stuff. And now she wants to rally people on her side, oh, my daughter was cheated on and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't give a shit. I don't care. The only reason that I care is that this man had an opportunity to be virtuous and show it, and he blew it. I can only do so much for a child as the person who's legally put in a position to advocate for that child is willing to do. That's all any of us can do. So if the dad seems to not really give a shit, well, I mean, I can't do anything about that. I can't do nothing about that. None of us can. Fact of the matter is I cry for these kids, all of these kids involved in this situation. But, everybody's like, oh, those poor kids, those particularly poor kids. No, man. The problem is still in a broken system. That's where the focus needs to remain. That's where the focus needs to move on. Look at cases like Gabriel Fernandez, where the system failed him. We have to demand better from our authorities, who we depend on when we can't handle things ourselves. To me, that's what a government is. Government is a fallback on what the people can't handle themselves. To me, that's the same thing. Family court only comes into play when a family fails to be able to handle their own differences amongst themselves, right or wrong. I want this. Well, you can't have it. Okay, well, then I'm taking you to court. As opposed to, I want this. Well, maybe you can have that, but I want this. Is it fair that you can't have that and I can have this and I can't have that? What I'm asking you for, is that fair? You're right. Maybe that's not fair. Let's come up with some sort of medium point. But when two people can't come up with that medium point, well, then we have the luxury of allowing our system to act as a mediator for these things. And when there's children involved, we have to rely. Tia, welcome. Thank you. We have to rely on our system to think rationally for us, so that we don't make things in haste and make decisions in haste that are going to affect our children in the long run. These people our government is supposed to simply act as our mediators in these situations. And to expect more is a dangerous, dangerous thing. But unless we're not going to get changes in our system, unless the system, the very first step is our system understanding its place. Our system understanding that it has a duty to our children. Because sometimes as parents, unfortunately, we don't need a license to procreate and raise kids. You need a license to drive a car, but you don't need a license to do that. So therefore, we have a system in place to help us mediate situations when we can't get past it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. When we can't get past that and we lose focus of how this is affecting our kids, well, then we have a system in place to help represent our kids when we as parents fail to do that. And that's all it is. Our very first step to making change is for our system to understand its place, that's what it's there for. Not to tell us what to do, not to tell us. Now, when it comes to the protection of our own kids, well, then sure. They should have to tell us what we can and can't do. If what we can and can't do, if what we are or are not doing is affecting our child's well-being, right? But that's it. But when this system fails to protect our kids, when they end up with parental units and households that consist of people like Brittany Gosney and James Hamilton, or Joe Daniels, or Letitia Stock, or Chris Watts. Now, the system didn't fail the Watts kids. I don't want to say that. I don't want to imply that. That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. But for every case that we see that had visitations from Department of Children and Families, or wherever you call it in your area, Child Protective Services, whatever. For every case that we see that there was a visit from this entity, and then that child ends up dead as a result of living in that household, well, then that system failed. So we get to do that. We get to blame our system for that. We get to blame the parents, obviously, sure. When a parent murders their own kid, then yeah, we get to blame the parents for sure. But the system is accountable when they stepped in to look into a situation and failed to see a problem, and then ultimately failed to protect that child. But in the long case, I mean, we've done everything that we can. I've done everything I can. You as supporters have done everything you can. It's just funny to me. It just makes me laugh. Because, like, I'm seeing Michael Long is wearing new clothes. I guess that's where all the GoFund money went to. Like, well, I mean, who knows where the GoFund money went? The GoFundMe money went. Who knows? That's besides the point. We already know. Like, it doesn't matter. That GoFund money is a bust. It's a bust. Why is that person showing up here? And this is the thing. Like, and then you have creators like Critical K, right? Now, I'm not blaming Critical K for this idiot that just showed up in my chat, but this is an idiot that just showed up in my chat who is consistently in Critical K's chat, just kissing her ass at all times. And this person has trolled my channel many times. This person has left many comments on many of my videos. Didn't have the guts to leave a comment on my live, but now that I did, now I got to hide her from this channel finally, and now I don't have to put up with her comments. But this is clearly a Critical K troll, right? So, like, and then people are like, oh, well, what's your problem with Critical K? What's your problem? I don't necessarily have a problem with Critical K, but let's face it. I mean, my issues with Critical K are quite obvious because I don't think any of my supporters go over to Critical K's chat and troll her. I don't think they do. I think they may have at one time, you know, when things were real heated up. But the fact that this is all these months later, right? All these months later, and she still has her all-star idiots showing up in my chat. That's cool, Jessica Moon. I'm not criticizing you, but when it's funny because when in that little compilation video that you see me making this rant talking about that anybody that supports Critical K is a fucking idiot, and anybody who gives money to Critical K is a fucking idiot. I stand by that in the sense that at the time what she was saying was absolutely horrible, and yeah. If you're supporting that and you're giving someone money who is creating a narrative that you should ignore a child when they come to you for help because they're allegedly being assaulted, well, then, yeah, giving that person support makes you shitty. Sure. Now, supporting the current content that's coming out of her channel, which I don't really know what it is. I know that I've heard. I mean, if you're just supporting her sense of insight, I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with that at all. I don't even have an issue with you giving her money on the other issue. I don't even have an issue with that. What I'm saying is, well, then take responsibility for the fact that you're supporting something that is really fucked up. You know, like, all I'm saying is be aware, you know, be aware of what you're supporting. But yeah, I don't, you know, but I mean, doesn't that speak volumes of that creator when the ones that are the most supportive of that creator show up in other people's chats just to troll them? You know, I mean, these are people who supposedly they pride themselves as critical thinkers, right? You're either a critical thinker or you're a peasant. One of the two, right? So Riddle me this, Batman. If you're such a critical thinker, then why would a critical thinker go into a chat of a creator who they perceive to be of complete opposite mind and be an enemy or have a different perspective and then troll that chat in a malicious manner? Not in a playful manner like I do in Rob's Rules chats or Mr. Zod's chats. No, not in a playful way, but in a malicious, crappy way. In a cheap attempt to take cheap jabs, right? That's a critical thinker, is it? Or is a critical thinker somebody who listens and tries to get as many different perspectives from one subject as they possibly can? So that's what I'm talking about. I won't even get into all the other stuff, why I think that creator is full of shit. I won't even get into all that. But that right there is a perfect example. These are the most active people in her chat. And then they show up into mine to troll. Right. Right. At no point did I say, that person's guilty, place them under arrest, throw them in jail, and throw away the key. No. I've said these are shitty people, and they need to be looked into. Because I've seen proof of people who engage in shitty behavior. I myself have been one of these very same people. That's how I know. But there was enough to go, hey, man, let's look into this. But I mean, let's just break it down. Like, if you're not, and I'm not even talking about CK as far as the long case. She hasn't even been talking about that. You know, at least not on her channel. But you have somebody who doesn't talk about something on their channel, yet talks about it behind the scenes in private chats and discords and this and that. And, you know, you have somebody who does that, or you have somebody who doesn't talk about something on their channel, but in turn doesn't talk about it anywhere else either. See, my content, I'm not going to talk about something on here that I'm not going to be talking about behind the scenes. And I'm not really going to express my opinion on something behind the scenes that I'm not willing to express on here. Again, we're always accountable for our words. You never see me making shitty comments and then people taking screenshots of them and then having to put, you know, and then it's out there and then I have to sit here and kind of explain my way out of it. I never have to do that. Ever. And somehow I'm the less credible one. So, I mean, that's all I'm saying, you know? And if you're the type of person who's following this shit just because you like tea, cool, man. You know, but don't sit there and act like it's because you care about the kids so much. I care about the kids. My heart bleeds for those kids. I'm crying over these kids. Dude, you don't give a shit about the kids. Because if you gave a shit about the kids, you would figure out the fact that there's no helping that kid, but there's millions of others that you can actually try to help. Don't sit here and be like, I'm coming with all the gossip on everything, and then sit there and talk about, well, my heart bleeds for those kids. No, dude, you're making shit worse for those kids. Sit here and talk about, oh my God, this poor child, what this child's going to have to do moving forward in their life. They're going to have to look back and remember all of this. They're going to remember everything that this father, this horrible man did to his own child. She's going to remember the exploitation that took place. Oh my God. And then 2 weeks later, be like, look at the beer can, and look at the look at the clothing that this girl's wearing. The clothing don't even belong to her. Those clothing don't even belong to her. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, just admit that you're just a shitty asshole who is trying to like capitalize off gossip, and that's okay. But say it. Don't do it in the guise of, oh, those poor children. Those poor children. I mean, you don't give a shit about kids, dude. None of y'all that are listening to that shit give a shit about kids. It's not really. Anybody supporting that shit, you don't really care about kids. You don't really care about making a difference. You don't really care about. I know that's the only English accent I can do is like a weak Liverpool accent. So, because I grew up listening to the Beatles too much. What's far-fetched to say? No, man. No. All right, let me change my word on that. Don't say the reason why you're listening to that is because you care about kids, is the way I should put it. You're not listening to that because you care about kids. You're listening to that because you care about the gossip going on in a family that has nothing to do with you. When you probably have your own crazy fucking drama going on in your life, in your house, among your family, probably just as crazy, if not crazier. And the only reason that you feel better about your own shit is to try to find some stranger's shit that could be easier to judge than your shit. Let's just be honest here. This isn't drama, Megan. What I'm saying is I'm pointing out, I'm explaining what's important in my eyes and what isn't. Okay? I know. Well, that's because I don't have any like I've never heard Cherry K talk. Nobody has. It's amazing. It is possible to have both. What I'm saying is you can't sit here and say that you care about these kids, you care about Sophie, and that's what's important to you, and the reason why you're following all this stuff is because you're so worried about Sophie and the other kids that are involved, blah blah blah, because you're not. I mean, you're not. Because if you really cared about those kids, what concerns you is the issues that you're concerned with them about. And if you're concerned about those issues, well, then you'd be doing something to help contribute to the fight against the things that these children are supposedly victims of. And even if it's even if you believe they're victims of alienation, right? I keep hearing that. Sophie is not a victim of SA. She's a victim of alienation by Michael, right? Well, then start a channel. Start talking about parental alienation. If you've been a victim of parental alienation, speak up on it. Focus the issue on the alienation is my point. Why are you focused on one family? That's obsessive. You're focused on one family and you're focused on what's going on with that family. Just admit to yourself that you're more interested in the fact that somebody's wearing somebody else's underwear rather than the fact that this child may or may not ever get justice for whatever she has endured, because that's not even the issue being talked about ever. Nobody's talking about whether or not this child was SA'd or whether this child was alienated. That's not even the issue anymore. And you guys are proving that point. I'm making the point. All of you are proving it. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying if you truly believe yourself to be someone who wants to see a difference, you got to look past what is clickbaity. You got to look past the ooh, look who's wearing Courtney's underwear. Because, I mean, come on, man. I agree, Jessica Moon. I completely agree. Because that's my point, is I don't see any good coming from this anymore. Because guess what? If your argument was that Michael Long was only trying to get attention this entire time, right? If that's your entire argument, that all he was doing was trying to get attention and he was using his I don't want to say fame, that's the wrong word to use, but using his popularity, using his being well known as a way to get women's attention, right? You know, if he was exploiting his child to do that, if that's what you believe, then why are you paying attention to what's going on with this dude's personal life that has nothing to do with the kids? If you think that this man used his child or used his children to get this kind of attention, and you're giving it to him, what are you doing? So that's what I'm saying, is you don't get to villainize this guy and make him out to be this horrible person who only used his children to get attention from women, and you're a woman and you're giving him that attention, and the subject has nothing to do with the kids anymore. Well, guess what? You're doing exactly what he wanted. You're giving him exactly what he wanted. Hold on, what's going on in here? See, that's my point. See, she's making a Jenny Everdeen is in a civil manner challenging what I'm saying. That's what the chat is for. And that's perfectly cool, man. That's perfectly okay. And I'm going to answer your question. What do I do to make a difference? What I try to do is I try to bring awareness to the fact that there are kids being hurt and worse, and nobody's talking about it. I mean, you see it in the news, sure. You see it in the news. But I'm gonna take it even further. Right now, the focus is on menthol cigarettes. Right? Does anyone here type of one, if you think that menthol cigarettes are going to, putting a ban on menthol cigarettes is going to send some type of message or make some type of impact on our society for the positive that would outweigh the impact of focusing and concentrating efforts on child trafficking, female trafficking, human trafficking. If you really think that everyone in the news talking about menthol cigarettes really matters versus that, I mean, who does? Does anybody? I'm a smoker. You think I give a shit that they're taking menthol cigarettes off? I mean, I don't smoke menthols. But if I was a menthol smoker, I'd be like, well, fuck. Well, that sucks. Guess I'm not smoking menthols anymore. I don't have a big channel, but I have a big enough to where I can hope that people will start talking. Right? I can hope to start making waves. I could throw a pebble in the pond and make ripples. That's what I'm hoping I can do. And that's what I do. But I mean, menthol cigarettes, that's that's the result that we get from the Derek Chauvin verdict. That's the first thing that happens in the news. The first big thing that happens in the news from Derek Chauvin. I mean, come on, man. And eventually I'm not gonna be able to smoke while I'm on here. I don't like smoking while I'm on here. I just, it's some nerve-wracking shit, especially when I start talking about things that I really care about. Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, people need to be proactive with legislation. I don't know how to do that. But what I'm hoping to do is inspire someone who is so inclined to do that. And maybe they can inspire other people and get something going and start making changes. So yes, using your platform in a responsible manner to talk about things that you're passionate about, that you want to see a difference made in, yes, that is considered doing something. It's exactly why we have our First Amendment rights. So yes, me talking about it, yes, actually can do something because I have a platform to do it. I got my little soapbox. I can actually get people to listen. But now you sitting around and talking about it, well, that's a different story because you're not up here putting yourself out there. No, I was only making an example. I was only giving an example, Nicole H. I had one of CK's very, very active people that are in her chat all the time that loves to make comments on my videos all the time. And to me, that's a representative of that channel. You know, like these are her biggest supporters. But I'm saying my point is if you're going to be a CK supporter, why wouldn't you, instead of following necessarily her example, at least follow what she says? You know, because I do believe you're following her example based on behaving like that, because I've gone out of my way to prove that this is the way that she behaves. But but that's fine, you know. But if you are a critical thinker, well, then that would imply that you are capable of thinking for yourself, coming up with your own thoughts, coming up with your own opinions. And a critical thinker would also, being a critical thinker would also dictate you going into someone else's chat with an opposing view and just listening. And just listening. And if you have a thought, if you have an opposing thought, a thought that you disagree with, well, then what you do is you address it in a civil manner, the way Jenny Everdeen did here. You address it in a very civilized manner. Because if you really want to get somebody to think on the level that you're thinking, well, then you come at them right. See, to me, I don't know if that person is a CK supporter or not. I don't know if Jenny is a CK supporter or not. I don't care if she is or not. But I will tell you this, that is someone who has given me the impression that she is a critical thinker, a genuine critical thinker. You'll never catch me treating people like that like shit. Now, if you just come in here and say something just plain stupid and dumb, well, then yeah, I'm going to call you out on it. Oh, I'm not trying to please those trolls. I'm just trying to point out. I mean, I love when they show up in my chat and just enforce everything that I've been saying. And you could like both channels too. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you can't like Critical K. I have mods that are CK supporters. You know what I'm saying? I have mods that are. I don't judge people based on that. I don't care what you like or what you don't like. It has nothing to do with what you like or what you don't like. But what I'm saying is, you know, be aware. Be self-aware. Don't call yourself a critical thinker when you don't even know what it means to think critically in the slightest bit. What do you do with your work, Jenny? I mean, and it's okay if you are a CK supporter. I'm not saying it's not okay to be one. I'm not saying that at all. No, and what I'm saying is, you can come into the chat. You can come into the chat and you could say something and express disagreement for sure. Absolutely, we're here to discuss things. Hey, Julie Witcherman. Good morning. Yeah, I mean, the whole menthol cigarettes thing is a joke to me. It seems like such a passive aggressive bullshit thing. Like they'll tell you, well, the reason for it is to discourage smoking as much as possible. Whereas, come on, man, why are flavored blunts, anything flavored, menthol cigarettes and flavored blunts, right? I mean, hey, Michaela, come on, man. Come on, man. Let's be honest. Let's look at the underlying tone here. Okay? I'm gonna kind of skate on thin ice here because people are gonna jump to their little conclusions and whatnot. But I'm just pointing out my observation. Okay? Let's face it. Menthol cigarettes, flavored blunts, target, as far as the ignorant go, they target a certain demographic, right? Do they or do they not? Now, I'm not saying they target a certain race. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they target a certain demographic, right? There was people who listened to a certain type of music when I was in high school, right? Just explain my high school situation. People who listen to a certain type of music, I don't think it's much different nowadays. People who listen to a certain type of music, dressed a certain way, and spoke with a certain type of slang. Generally, it went with their image to smoke menthol cigarettes. It went with their image that instead of smoking what they considered white boys, which is basically just weed in a rolling paper, a joint, right? Well, they smoke blunts, right? And generally, they like to get those flavored ones. They like to get the blueberry ones. They like to get the peach ones. They like to get these. They like to get that. Me, not me necessarily. Me, I don't even like to smoke weed if I can help it. I take edibles if I can help it. But I want to taste it as little as possible. You know what I'm saying? So, and I said generally, not specifically, but generally. Like, come on, man. You're going to tell me that that's not, that there's not some sort of message there, some subliminal expression of control. Yeah, I just think it's shitty. I just think it's shitty. I think it's shitty that this is the next step taken after the Derek Chauvin verdict. We haven't even reached the sentencing yet. Like that's somehow the priority as far as what's important. Megan, I smoke very cheap cigarettes. I hate the fact that I smoke cigarettes. To me, the more regulation they do with cigarettes, honestly, the better. Because it's going to discourage me. At some point, cigarettes are going to just get stupid expensive. more expensive than they are, to the point where they're going to be unaffordable for me. And then I'm just going to be like, well, shit, I'm going to have to just quit. And I'm going to be in a real bad mood. But I'm going to deal with it. And looky there. Americans identifying as LGBT are twice as likely to use menthol cigarettes, according to CDC research. I mean, let's just face it. Let's just face it. Now, you could sit there and make me out to be the person that's making it about demographics and statistics, right? But I didn't make the statistics. I didn't make it that way. It just is. I'm just pointing out the fact that you can't deny that there are statistics involved. There are demographics involved. Thank you, Nicole H. So no, you're not going to sit here and tell me, oh, well, it's as black and white as them wanting to cut down and, discourage people from smoking cigarettes more. No, what you're doing is you're controlling something. You're controlling something. What you're doing is you're targeting these demographics, whether you like it or not. You can sit here and act like, no, we're not targeting any demographic. Well, you know what? Then what you would do is you would ban smoking. If you weren't targeting one particular demographic or favoring one particular demographic, well, then, you know what I'm saying? You would just ban smoking altogether. You wouldn't ban flavored blunts and menthol cigarettes. Get real. Like, I'm not falling for that. Always go with the stats and science. That's a crock of shit. I don't know any kids who smoke. Not like when I was a kid. When I was a kid, the only reason I smoke now is because I started when I was a kid. But this whole big fear of we don't want our children smoking, dude, like every kid that I know has enough common sense to avoid smoking cigarettes. My kid didn't. My daughter did. My son, he started. But the only reason he started, it wasn't because, flavored cigarettes are super appealing. No, it was the fact that my dad would be that much more disappointed in me if I started smoking cigarettes. Well, then that just gives me more of a reason to start smoking cigarettes. Anything to piss him off, anything to show him that he's a fucking hypocrite. Well, that's what I'm going to do. Kids smoke to rebel, man. That's why they smoke. And now most kids don't smoke because they look at the adults that smoke in their lives as complete idiots. Like, that's the stupidest thing anybody could ever start doing. But like, I work with, I mean, even when I worked in pizza, the majority of the people that I worked with that were half my age were like, dude, when are you going to quit smoking, man? I feel like such an outcast because I'm like the only person who smokes. I'm literally the only, but I work at a gym, you know what I'm saying? So it's not too hard to believe that I'd be the only idiot that smokes. But even in any other industry that I've ever worked in, a food industry, all the younger people, they had enough sense to avoid it. It was only the older people that would go out and smoke cigarettes. They would go out of their way to get a break to go smoke cigarettes, right? Right. Most have quit. It's too expensive. They've quit, or they had enough sense to not even start. And then you have people who vape. Now, my issue with vaping is because people are telling me, well, why don't you vape instead of smoking? Like, I don't even know a lot of young people that vape anymore. A lot of people started vaping and then they quit, right? But my whole thing with vaping is it hasn't been around long enough to know what the real long-term effects are. People didn't know that smoking was dangerous until people who had been smoking for a long time had gotten old, and then they could see that it causes emphysema and lung cancer. People started getting sick. People started so they started conducting tests to see what's going on. Somebody suspected that smoking might contribute to it, so they started doing tests on that, and now we know that smoking is dangerous and bad for you. Vaping hasn't been around long enough for that. But I'll tell you this much. I'll tell you this much. If every time I take a vape, if I hit a vape and I cough maniacally, it can't be safe. It can't be good for you. I don't care how much you explain to me that it's just water going into my lungs, blah, blah, blah. If it's making me cough like that, it's got to be bad. It can't be good. Gross. Yeah, that can't be good. That can't be good. All I'm saying is, man, know who you are, man. Know what you're. If you believe in something, look into it and get behind it and be ready to back it up with conviction. But be aware, man. Be aware of the things that you get behind. So I try to keep myself from getting behind something as questionable as someone else's beliefs. You know, I just, that's not enough for me. Well, this many people are talking about it, so it's got to be true. No, man. I can't do that. Scares me actually to think that way, because then I'm just giving up my own convictions. I'm giving up my own ability to think freely. Nobody's taking that from me. It's not something I can blame on society. It's me. Like when it comes to vaccinations, right? I honestly don't have one opinion or the other about it. If you want to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you don't want to get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated. Don't tell me that I have a moral responsibility to get vaccinated, because if you're vaccinated, well, what the hell do you have to worry about whether or not I'm vaccinated or not? What do you care? Don't worry about if I'm vaccinated. Well, what about if you get the person who doesn't want to get vaccinated sick and well, who gives a shit? If that person who refused to get vaccinated was that worried about getting sick, well, guess what? They should have got vaccinated. But what I do criticize is everybody's need to show that they've been vaccinated. Everybody has to have their little tag oh, I just got vaccinated, or everybody has to have their, when they voted. I voted. Like, that's none of my business whether or not you voted. I don't give a shit whether or not you voted. I give a shit whether or not you got vaccinated. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see women. I don't see women. How crazy would you feel? Okay, well, if we were living in a world where all of a sudden CNN just wouldn't stop talking about the overpopulation of the world, right? I wish they would. But I mean, let's explore that for a second. Let's say CNN, Fox, everybody is talking about how the world is overpopulated. It's too many people. World's going to end any day because of how overpopulated the world is, right? And then everybody on social media started wearing little stickers that say, I just got my hysterectomy. I just got my vasectomy. You'd be like, what the fuck? What kind of Twilight Zone shit is this? Right. You don't think that's being used to keep people in control? To keep the herd in control? That need for reassurance and that need for validity. Yeah, those of you guys that are typing in your reasons for getting vaccinated or not getting vaccinated, you're missing my point. You're completely missing my point. I don't care if you guys got vaccinated or you didn't get vaccinated. It's not my business, is my point. And the fact that for some reason that people feel the need shows us where we are right now. It shows us exactly where we are in a society right now, where we feel the need to let people know that we've been vaccinated or we haven't been vaccinated. Like, think about it. Is it because you're afraid that people might? Is it because you want some sort of pat on the back or validation, like somebody just commented here, or is it because you're afraid of rejection? Could that be the reason? It's absolutely about validation. I don't give a shit about what you're saying here. We're living through a pandemic, and the vaccine makes us feel like we're moving on from it. It makes us feel a certain way. How good for you. How good for you that you get to feel a certain way about yourself. That's all I'm pointing out. Thank you for basically admitting. It's so funny. This person says that. They say it makes us feel like we're moving on from it, but then it's not about validation. How's it not about validation? See, this is what I'm talking about. First of all, I'm going to be honest with you. If you Yes, you're typing your comments very respectfully, but the bottom line is, I mean, you're in my chat using a sock account, and you know, when you're in my chat and you're using this sock account, and I've seen you in other chats, or I've seen the same exact sock account in other chats with the same picture, the same name. Either A, come up with something more original so that I look at you more like a person rather than just some smug remark that's in my chat. I mean, but yeah, it boils down to the fact that you're just being overly sensitive. I'm making the point that you're overly sensitive. You just expressed in my chat how sensitive you are. And I just pointed out that I think that you're totally overly sensitive, absolutely overly sensitive, because people are too worried about their feelings. Everybody's so worried about their feelings, and everybody is making decisions based on your feelings. I'm here to tell you, your feelings are a distant second to me being able to say and do whatever I want, because it may or may not make a change for the better. Now, you might be saying, well, what if you being able to say and feel how you want makes changes for the worse? Well, there's that risk for sure. But that's when you come in. That's when you control your own feelings and how you were affected by the words that come out of my mouth. See, I love this. You are expressing your feelings and I'm expressing mine. I don't get it. And this isn't a sock account. I don't understand what you're implying by that. You're not getting anything of what I'm trying to say. You're not getting anything of what I'm trying to say. You're expressing your feelings and I'm expressing mine. No, what you're doing is you're talking about how your feelings, your comment implied that feelings are more important than actual fact. Right? Isn't that what you implied? That the reason for everyone expressing that they got vaccinated was because it makes people feel better. When I just stated the actual importance of a vaccination. The vaccine is either you get it or you don't. Those who get the vaccine, well, they get it so that they feel safer. Sure. The people who get the vaccine do it so that they feel safer because they're less likely to get COVID-19, right? People who don't get it aren't scared of COVID-19. And they're not worried because now there's a vaccine. And if you're that worried about getting COVID-19, well, then you could just get your vaccination. What I'm saying is, for some reason, we live in a society where people feel the need to push that on people. When I just explained where there's really no logical reason as to why you would push a vaccine on anyone. Now, I get it if it's, I get it if it's a disease where you're going to turn into a zombie and start eating everyone's brains around you. You're going to become murderous. If anybody comes into contact with you, you're going to drop dead. Sure. Okay. But again, if there's a vaccine for this, if I'm scared of just dropping dead, well, you know what? I'm going to run out and get that vaccine. But other than that, I don't see any logical reason why it should be pushed on me to get a vaccine. And yeah, there are people that are more worried about the vaccine than they are about COVID-19. Because the fact is if you're part of the public, which you are, I guarantee you, you know more about COVID-19 than you do about this vaccine. I guarantee you that. No, I don't even know what that is. If I'm being honest, Jenny, I don't know what that is. And do you really believe that your physical health overall, in the grand scheme of things, that your physical health is more important than your free will? Do you really believe that? Because if that's the mode of thinking, well, then we wouldn't be here today. There'd be no civilization today. Do you really think that your feelings about what someone else has to say is more important than that person's freedom to say whatever they have to say? Because again, if that were the case, we wouldn't have civilization. It wouldn't be a thing. All right.
Hey, Swilly.
Hey.
I was just wondering, if Sophie goes home to her mum, don't you think you owe it to your subs to cover that?
No,
Why not?
because I don't know anybody's shit.
Yeah, but why do you not want people to cover that?
Why don't I want people to cover whether or not she goes home to her mom?
Yeah.
I don't care if anybody does. I'm merely expressing my opinions on whether they do or not. I'm not saying that they should or shouldn't. Oh, I know exactly who this is, Tart with the Heart. Please, come on. I'm not stupid.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Take care.
Okay. Well, there's that. So, why that person would come on here and ask that question and then move on. I mean, like, no. I don't owe anybody shit as far as what I do with my channel. That's another thing. I love that narrative too. Because some of my former supporters are going, here's the thing is as a creator, you're never gonna please anybody. You're never gonna please everybody. You know, you're just not. And some people feel like, well, you know, this is what I sub to this channel for, and blah blah blah. The truth is if you didn't sub to this channel, if you didn't sub to this channel for me basically covering whatever I feel passionate about, and then maybe feeling passionate about something else later on, or maybe not even feeling passionate about anything for a brief period of time. If you didn't sub for me for the reasons that these things might fluctuate, well then you sub to me for the wrong reasons. It's just that simple. See, that's a different story right there. Hold on. Robin's saying, I may not want to get vaccinated, but if I want to keep my job, I have to get it. See, that's a whole nother thing there. That's a whole nother thing. And that becomes a question of, what do you want to do? What's important to you necessarily? Because it could be, that could be the norm in the entire industry that you've gone to school for 4 to 8 years to get. See, if you're like me, where I don't have any formal education, I'm willing to do any job that pays me. If I have to get a job cleaning toilets, well, guess what? I'm not above that. I'll go get a job cleaning toilets. That's fine. I'm not thrilled about it. I don't want to do that, but I will. If I feel that strongly about not being vaccinated and my job requires me to get vaccinated, well, I don't know. I'm kind of the kind of person that's probably just going to be like, you know what? Nah, man. Nah. Because it's weird to me that you're making me do something when everybody else is vaccinated and I'm not. How am I putting the rest of my coworkers or patrons at risk? Anyone else that I come into contact with at my job, how am I putting them at risk if they've all been vaccinated? Because it boils down to you basically telling me what I have to do with my body. Right? I love that. That's the funniest thing to me, because they're the same people who want vaccinations to be mandatory also are pro-choice. And the reason they're pro-choice is not because it has anything to do with children. It has to do with, you're not going to tell me what to do with my body. See that? Does anybody have a rebuttal for that? Anyone? Like, and I'm opening the panel for that question simply because I honestly want to know. Am I being closed-minded? Am I not understanding something? Am I seeing something only one-sided? Okay, so now I went too far. Now I went too far. By saying what? By pointing out the fact that so many who feel that a vaccination should be mandatory are the same people that say pro-choice because it's my body, my choice. Now that person says I've gone too far. I'm curious as to what you mean by that. Yes, of course you may. Please. How did I go too far? By pointing that out. I might be, and I'm not going to know, Zen fan, until somebody with an opposing view comes up and addresses why. Wait, getting the vaccine helps lessen the system? What do you mean it helps lessen the system? I don't understand. I thought it was the system that was the one pushing the vaccine. That's what it's going to boil down to, Megan M. If I get into a debate with somebody on this, well, guess what? It's going to boil down to the argument of whether or not it is my decision. That's what the argument's going to boil down to. Well, yeah, everybody. I mean, here's the thing: is we can't change human nature. But the cool thing about being human is even though we can't change human nature, we could try to manage our own personal individual nature. Because can you really control someone else's personal individual nature? Much less on a mass scale? That's crazy. That's unrealistic. And part of the reason why it's unrealistic is because it's dead wrong to even try. It's just wrong to do that. See, that's insane to me, Kelly Bain. That's insane to me. See, and it's not that I don't trust the United States government. It's that I don't fucking trust anybody. Not ultimately, you know. I trust people to a certain extent. I trust other people with certain things, but I'm not going to trust the government with my life only as much as I have to. You know, I mean, at any given point, I don't have a choice but to trust whoever's thumb is on the red button. I don't have a choice but to trust them. But when it comes to somebody going, hey, I'm going to put this needle in you and I'm going to stick the stuff in that you don't actually really know what it is. Well, I mean, and you just trust it and go, okay, well, that's cool. I mean, think about that. So some might think, let's go back to the menthol cigarettes thing, right? Well, why didn't they just ban all cigarettes, right? They're banning menthol cigarettes and they're banning flavored any type of flavored tobacco or tobacco products, right? So they're banning that. Why? The reason is someone said to discourage kids from smoking, right? Well, why not just make cigarettes illegal altogether? I'll tell you why they won't. Because people will be outraged. People will say, you cannot tell me what I can or cannot put into my body. You cannot tell me that. It's my body. You can't tell me that. So they make this decision based on that concept. Well, you can't tell people what they can and can't do with their own body. That's crazy. But for some reason, when it comes to this vaccine, that the rules are different. Right. Why not make alcohol illegal? That's also a good question. All of these are going to bring me to the inevitable conclusion. What is the answer to 99 out of 100 questions, people? Money. Money. Tobacco companies bring in too much revenue, right? They tax the hell out of cigarettes. They're never going to take cigarettes off the shelves. They sell too well. People are addicted to them. That's a guaranteed income. Think about that. Think about that. That's guaranteed. Anybody who's alive, who's addicted to smoking cigarettes, the chances of them quitting are so slim, right? So they're for sure going to get that money. Every bit of money that tobacco sales generate, whether it be in taxes or whether it be in the economy, because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? So yeah, that brings me to the alcohol statement, right? People are like, well, why isn't alcohol illegal? Well, for the same exact reason. They could tax the hell out of it, make more money off of it, right? Which is exactly why they're making weed legal now, because they realize that. Because it boils down to, well, how is weed bad for you and it's illegal, but alcohol is legal? That question just keeps happening, keeps coming up, right? Well, we can't ban liquor. It's not because they can't tell people what to do with their bodies and what they can't do with their bodies. You can't tell me if I want to be a drunk that I can't be a drunk. Well, sure. If they really wanted to do that, they could, because they have before. No, it's not about that. It's not about your freedom. They don't give a shit about you. They don't care that you're yeah, they don't care about your well-being necessarily, unless they're thinking of it in terms of how much money can you make and spend in your lifetime. Well, then they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about how much money can be generated. Everything has a P&L, people. Everything has a P&L. There's always a profit and loss report. Small business, huge corporation. What do you think the United States is? The United States is a huge corporation. There's a budget. Money coming in, money going out. The idea is to generate more money coming in rather than money going out, which they've apparently failed at. But that's the objective. That's the idea, right? So they're only thinking on terms of money coming in. That's the only thing they're thinking about. When it comes to tobacco sales, when it comes to legalizing marijuana, when it comes to alcohol, it's all about how much money is generated from whether or not it's legal or illegal. You look at the war on drugs. The war on drugs costs the government a shit ton of money, but it also makes the government a shit ton of money. What do you think they do with all these illegal narcotics that they seize? That's money, people. You think that they just take money and burn it? I love that. I love that people are like, oh, well, when they make a huge seizure, they take it to a big open government field and then they burn it all because it's a war against drugs. No, man, it's a war in drugs, but it's not a war on drugs. Government wants to control it. Yes, Jane Star. Of course, they sell that shit. They put that shit right back on the street into circulation. Why would they burn money? It's the same thing as burning money. Why would they do that? It makes no sense. That shit goes right back on the street into circulation. You're out of your mind if you think otherwise. You only see them burning weed. And really, they're gonna burn a bunch of cocaine and heroin and put that shit out into the environment. Dude, of course they sell it. Of course they sell it. It's crazy not to. Look how shocked Violet is. She's either being sarcastic or she doesn't realize that. But how sad is it if we're all fully aware of this and we just all sit around and not say shit about it? What's worse, them doing that or us sitting around and letting these things take place dictate the next thing that they do to control us and take a little bit more of your freedom away? What's worse, our behavior or theirs? Oh, I'm totally going to get canceled. It's just a matter of time. What's up, Linda Lou?
Hey, Will.
How are you?
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear
barely. Okay, so what is your stance on the vaccine then?
you. I'd rather not say, to be perfectly honest.
Well, then
As
why are
far
you
as
so mad
personally
right
goes,
now?
I'd rather not say. No, because you're missing my point. My stance, if you want to know what my stance as a YouTube creator is on the vaccine, my stance is people should be able to do whatever they want. And it's weird to me that people get a certain pressure to get it when at the end of the day, if there's a vaccine, the way a vaccine works, only the people who choose not to get it will be affected, right? But
Here's the issue with the vaccine.
they're not.
I'm not gonna get the vaccine. I'm not gonna get the
Okay.
vaccine just because I choose not to get it. But what is the problem for me is the fact that now you might have to get a damn passport that has the vaccine that you've gotten the vaccine to be able to travel. That's different.
Right. Like, because now they're not letting you on planes. Well, that's what I'm trying to say is people don't realize that they're we've been spoiled by luxuries, right? We've been spoiled by luxuries to the point to where without realizing it, we've become dependent on these luxuries, and these luxuries have now become necessities. So if not having a vaccine affects your ability to travel, let's say you travel for work and you have to be in multiple different cities across the country in 1 week, you're not going to be able to do that by driving. You're going to have to do that by flight, right? So you don't have a choice. You have to get the vaccine because they're telling you have to get the vaccine, right? Whereas in the reality of it, what difference does it make? Why if what does it matter if I don't have a vaccine, but the person sitting directly next to me on the plane has had it? What difference does it make?
Right. Well, here's my example of it. My son's going to go to Disney World in June. He went and got the vaccine. Not that he wanted to, but he went and got it, the Moderna, and he has to go back in 2 weeks to get the second shot. And then it's 14 days after that you're fully vaccinated to be able to go to Disneyland. So, I think it should be a choice. Right now, I think we're headed towards not a choice.
I agree with you. A lot of things are headed to not a choice. I talked about how Google, basically, if they wanted to, they could just decide. The executives at Google could just hold a meeting 5 minutes from now and decide from this moment on, we're censoring whatever we want to censor, anything we want, and doing whatever we want with the YouTube platform. They can do that without realizing, or where the rest of us aren't realizing how dependent we are on it. I'm dependent on it. But at the end of the day, I really don't give a shit because what the worst they're going to do is take away my platform from me. That's the worst they're going to do. And then you guys will never hear from me again. And then I go on living my life. And then I try to survive in whatever way I try to survive. That's just how that's going to be, but I don't have, you see what I'm saying is now that nobody listens to the radio anymore. Nobody reads the newspaper anymore, even though a newspaper is still a private company, but freedom of press, they're still obligated. They're still obligated to hold certain values and to live up to certain values. But and technically Google somewhat sort of is, because what happens, look at what happened. It works for now. They give us what we want. That day I did a stream on Google going and deleting comments from people's chats because they had links in them, right? Somebody made that decision. You can't share links. But guess what happened? People started, I personally, just to set the example, I went on Twitter and pointed out, Team YouTube, none of us creators are happy about the fact that you're not letting us post links in the chat. Enough people shared it. I'm sure I wasn't the only one who did that. But that's where just talking can actually work. When you have a platform like this, I got a bunch of people to spread the word. I'm sure a lot of other creators spread the word, right? And guess what? Now you can post links in the chat. So as far as I'm concerned, it worked.
So y'all fought for it and you got it.
Right. But see, when you
saying?
have right. So but when you have the people, convinced, because their news medias are actually private corporations with their own agendas, and they're creating a narrative, and you're buying into that narrative because everybody else is buying into that narrative. Well, guess what? The people have spoken, haven't they? And they haven't violated anybody's rights to free speech, have they? Because the people have spoken. If I were to go to the Supreme Court and go, wait a minute, this is dead wrong. It's dead wrong that I have to go get vaccinated. Well, the Supreme Court's going to go, well, the people have spoken. You're sitting here saying that you're speaking up for the people, but the truth is that the people are the ones who have spoken. The people are the ones, everyone's going on there, putting their, I just got vaccinated, or holding their cards up saying, I just got vaccinated. Right? So if everybody's on board with this,
we shouldn't have to.
Without seeing the craziness behind it, well, then that battle's lost. I can't fight for people who don't want me to fight for them. You know what I mean?
I get that, but I mean, what are we fighting for? We're fighting for freedom, right? We're fighting freedom of choice.
That's what I'm fighting for. That's what I'm fighting for. But the thing is when the majority of people, what happens when, right now, what happens when the majority of people have made the choice to let someone think for them? That's scary, isn't it?
I mean, that's a good question.
Right. That's where we're headed. That's where we're at right now.
Right now, at this point in time, where are we as far as the vaccine? Who's fighting for us and who's fighting or not fighting for us, right? Who's fighting for us? Because, I don't like Trump. I think he's a piece of crap. But he did say that we would have a choice. And when Biden came into the administration, I thought we would have a choice. Still, but that seems to be
so far we do, but they find ways to not give you a choice. It's like you said, it's getting to a point to where you're not going to be able to get on a plane, right? So they're going to be like, okay, well, if we can't pass a law, what kind of message?
Or for work.
You can't go and pass a law where some old rich white guy hits a gavel, right? And passes a law and says everyone has to get vaccinated. That's going to put everybody in an uproar. That's going to cause a panic. That's going to make everybody go, wait a minute, you're taking our freedom away. It's my choice. People are going to freak out over that, right? But when you slowly, meticulously, systematically do it by airlines creating policies, by
requiring a vaccine passport,
companies creating policies, because the fact is corporations do rule everything now, right? So it's not a question of government anymore, is it? It boils down to you as a consumer.
I'm not sure about that, because I can get into this.
What are you going to do as a consumer? You're going to just say, okay, well, I'm going to stop flying, right? Are you going to do that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Are you just gonna say, okay, well, you know what? Nobody's gonna tell me that I'm gonna get vaccinated. Nobody has the right to tell me that. So you know what? Fuck the airlines. I'm not gonna fly.
Well, I'm saying that right. I'm saying that right now, but guess how far that's going to get me? Probably
Sure.
not far.
Right.
Because I
You're
think
gonna
we're on the
lose.
verge of them
You're gonna
requiring
lose
it.
because you're dependent. Because if you travel for work, then you're dependent monetarily to put food on your table, to feed your family, to feed you. You're dependent on being able to fly, right? So if you're dependent on being able to fly to put food on your table, well, then guess what? You are forced to a certain degree to get vaccinated. You either have to make the choice of, okay, well, I might at some point have to panhandle on the street to get money. I might have to wash people's windshields on street corners to make money. Are you willing to do that? You know what I'm saying? Most people are not. Most people are not. So guess what?
Yeah,
Now you're
I think it's coming down. I think it's coming down. It's coming down to a point where we're going to have to choose, and not choose like, do I want one or not? It's choose whether I want to work, choose whether I want to travel, choose, those types of things, because you have to have it to do it.
Yeah, what happens when stores or any place of business, right? Sorry, my camera went out. I don't know why. What happens when any place of business, let's put it this way: what happens when every place of business says you can't get in here without some sort of card that says that you've been vaccinated, without some sort of paper proof that you've been vaccinated, like a driver's license?
I mean, isn't that what they're talking about right now?
Yeah. So, but think about
Isn't that what they're talking about? They're talking about having a ID card, a vaccine.
She's kind of cutting in and out. Your internet is bad there. See that? Tattoos by Lula's, who I love, by the way. But here she is. I got both my shots. I also got money from my employer for each shot I got. So now there's incentive. And I'm not against incentive. That's fine. You know, if an employer wants to give you a bonus for getting the shot, cool. That it depends on, is that worth it? Let me ask you guys this. Okay, I'm getting messages. This is off the subject, right? This is, and it's kind of plays into what I'm talking about. So this is off the subject. Someone, that's not even a lot of money. Look at that. She says right here, I got 8 hours of pay for each shot. Right? I mean, for me personally, I don't know. That's not necessarily, if I were having questions about the shot and I was worried about my health and I was worried about if the shot may be more risky than actually the risk of catching COVID, if getting the shot is actually holds more risk, well then, I mean, if there's only 2 shots, getting 16 hours worth of pay isn't going to cut it for me, man. It's just not. That's all I'm saying. But that's my choice. If I feel like that's enough, okay, well, cool. Sure. And then we have the other side of that coin right there. I can't believe that anyone is getting the shot based on the risk profile. There's that too. But let me go into this. So I have someone, I'm not going to name any names, but I have someone who is wrenched for me, right? This is a person I don't have any problem with. This is a person that I kind of have a problem with because I don't want to engage in any personal conversations with this person anymore because this person has yelled and insulted and you know, and it's for reasons that they're just, you know, for whatever reason, I bring out the worst in this person, let's just say, okay, for whatever reason. And now I just got a message to the person going, I didn't read the whole thing. It just says, I've asked you repeatedly to take away my wrench. But why? You know what I'm saying? Like, isn't it my choice to have someone wrenched? That's why it's up to me to take the way. You can't give up the wrench, right? So isn't it my choice to take away the wrench? I don't think I've even brought your name up yet, Annie. But welcome. Hey, Annie. And she's saying psych. She's just kidding. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, that right there speaks volumes of that person's instability to me. Again, I'm not going to name their name, but it's super strange to me that they're like yelling at me because I didn't take away their wrench and they're not participating in my chat at all. You know what I mean? Like, what difference does it make whether or not you have a wrench? Somebody explain that to me. You have the choice of participating in my chat or not. It's up to you. It's absolutely 100% up to you. Right? What difference does it make if I take your wrench away or not? Why are you sending me obsessive messages telling me to take away your wrench? What's up, Holly Love? I mean, but why? You know what I'm saying? Like this is someone, in all fairness, Annie. But this is how they detach from me. Don't participate in my chat, especially when I'm getting these obsessive messages all the time saying, I don't want anything to do with you. But I haven't messaged this person at all. Like, if you want to detach, then detach. And these same people, if you want to interact with these people, there are plenty of other chats that you can interact with them in instead of mine, right? Boom. Nikki Venable. If you want to wear a mask for life, go ahead. If you want to get the shot, go ahead. But shame on you for shaming others to do the same just because you're afraid. I wouldn't word it that way. Honestly, I wouldn't word it that way, but I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Because I don't want to shame anybody for being afraid. That's why I wouldn't word it that way. I don't think there's anything wrong with being afraid, especially of something that you don't fully understand. I think all of us should be afraid of something that we don't fully understand to a certain degree. When it comes to human beings, no, I don't think we should be afraid of human beings that we don't fully understand. But when it comes to a pandemic that people have died of, well, then yeah, of course. So I'm not trying to shame anybody for being afraid. That's another good point, Annie. Maybe they want to troll your chat, and with the wrench, they look like they support you if they really don't. Well, I don't want you in my chat if you if you're not being supportive. And you don't even have to agree with me to be supportive. You know, you don't have to agree, but this chat is for people who are supportive. Oh yeah, have a good vacation. Have a good vacation. We love you too. Yeah, that's just crazy silly to me, man. You know, why do you want to look? What you want me to have you in my chat? You know. Now the funny thing is that person with a wrench can come in here and troll the hell out of my chat with total immunity until I take their wrench away. But in the meantime, you know, I mean. And the truth is, the reason why I haven't taken this person's wrench away is because I just don't feel like going through all the digging, going through the chats and finding this person's name and then taking the wrench away. I just don't feel like doing all that. But again, man, like that's my decision. Who is this? Let's see. All right, I'm not going to try to read your email name there, but
Can you hear me?
I can hear you okay, but not great.
Okay, hang on just a second. I've got this stupid earphone thing. How is it now?
I mean, I can tell that you have a English accent, but you're pretty low still.
Okay, on the live, I come off as
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
Is way better. Way
Okay,
better.
sorry, I have my earphones in. So on the chat, I come up as Ooh La La because that's like my name on there. So please don't take the piss. Don't take the piss out of my accent now, because I'm English.
I won't.
I just wanted to say that Miss Piggy really wants to come up and say something, but she's concerned that she's going to get shouted down because she is for the vaccine. And I've had a conversation with her saying everybody has an opinion, and I don't think that would happen.
I mean, you can be for the. I'm not shaming anyone that's for the vaccine. I'm saying that I believe it to be someone's choice. And I've been trying to get people on the panel who don't agree that it's personal choice. But the problem with that is I'm going to have to sign off here in the next 3 minutes because I have to be at work soon. Like I said, I got rid of I replaced my normal workout time with this because I got a full workout on yesterday. So. And I did ask for a different opinion, and I'm willing to continue this after work. If you guys are want to come on for a different live stream, and I'll continue this because I'm not trying to avoid opposing opinions. I promise you, I'm not. I've been on for 2 hours plus, and I do have to go to work. See, and this is the thing is the reason what's funny is I'm not afraid of expressing my opinion in the slightest bit on these issues. I'm not in the slightest bit afraid of expressing my opinion. What I don't like though is when my chat gets at each other. The reason why I avoid these topics is because I don't want my chat arguing with each other. So please, guys, be able to conduct yourselves and talk to each other. Yeah. So I'm just saying I just prefer to avoid these topics because there's always somebody that ends up in an argument in chat. And the problem with this is if you're listening to my point, you'll see that there's no point in arguing about it. If you're actually paying attention to my point, you'll see that there's no point in arguing about it. And if your point is that there's a point in arguing about it, well, then we're not going to agree. Like, you're not going to, I mean, the only thing you're going to get out of this channel moving forward is hate views, honestly, because I'm going to have a much different opinion than you are. If our opinion difference boils down to, I feel like everybody should have a choice over their own outcome and what they do with their own body, and you don't get to cherry pick what that is, well, and you feel like that's not true, well, then we're just not going to agree. Hold on. See, I can't tell if this Nikki person is agreeing with anyone or disagreeing or what. And I agree with you there, Tattoos Lulis. We have already been made to stay home and wear masks. But how did they make everybody stay home? That's the interesting part. How did they make everyone stay home? There's one simple answer to that. How did they make everyone stay home? Did they do it by passing a law? No. They did it by making it mandatory for businesses to shut down. Because if we have no reason to go out, well, then we're just going to stay home, aren't we? So what do? They control everything else. If they can't control you, they control everything else. So that's what I'm saying is you can't, if they can't control you, whether or not you get a vaccine, well, then they can make it to where businesses don't let you participate and consume without the vaccine. But make no mistake, people, these are luxuries that you have become dependent on and created for yourselves to make necessities. Yeah. It's getting to a point where, Julie Richmond, you're saying my personal choice, still against it, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. You guys are missing my point. What your personal opinion is on the whole situation means nothing. Whatever you think about personal choice, it doesn't matter if you have an opinion on personal choice. Everybody believes in their own personal freedom, for sure. Everyone does. Everybody's quick to tell everybody else what they can and can't do, or what they should be allowed to do and what they shouldn't be allowed to do. Everybody's real quick to do that until somebody tells them what they should be allowed to do and what they shouldn't be allowed to do. Right? Till somebody tells you that, it sounds great. And that's my point. That's my point. But see, this is where the country's getting split. Tattoos. This is where the country's getting split. You know? Because there are parts of the country now that are looking at it the same way, that are looking at it the way that I'm looking at it. There are parts of the country that are looking at it the way that anti-vaxxers are looking at it. There are parts of the country that are looking at it the way people that everybody should get a vaccination. So this is where the country's getting split, right? But the only reason that this split exists is because we listen to too much. We depend too much on mainstream media. And I would love that if it wasn't so biased. So now the choice has boiled down to, do we actually want freedom, or are we okay with letting it go? Are we okay with giving it up? So I'm actually going to continue this live stream. I'm going to continue this live stream. It's going to be a late night one, because I see a lot of you guys in here that are usually at my late night ones too. So I'm going to do a late night one tonight when I get home. All right. A follow up on this one. And in the meantime, you're going to have about 8 hours or so. In the meantime, I want all of you to really, really, really think about what it means to actually have free will. What it means to actually give a certain amount of your freedom to someone else. I want you guys to really, really think about that. And if you think that like it's just about masks, or it's just about a vaccination, I mean, then you're being fooled, man. You are, because it's much bigger than that. It's much, 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 much bigger than that. I'm not even asking you to do homework on it. I know that there's a lot of people here that are from abroad, that are in a completely different country. So I want you to ask yourself what your freedom means to you. What is the freedom for you to have the personal freedom to make decisions, everyday simple decisions in your life that you take for granted every single day? I want you to do an inventory on these decisions and ask yourself which ones you take for granted and which ones you don't, right? I want you to ask yourself that. And then I want you to ask yourself, how important is the freedom to make these everyday decisions to you? How important is that freedom to you to be able to make those decisions? And what are you willing to do to protect that freedom? Your personal freedom, not somebody else's. I'm not asking you to worry about anybody else. I'm asking you to worry about you. You personally. What about you? That's all I want to know. How important, which decisions do you take for granted every single day that you don't really realize? Do a personal inventory on that, and then ask yourself how important that freedom is to you. And then third, ask yourself, what lengths you're willing to go to protect it. Just you personally, not someone else's, not everyone else's, just your own personal freedom to make everyday decisions. I want you to really, really think about that, because I don't think it's something that we all really think about. But we're going to have to start doing that very, very soon. So in the meantime, guys, please do that. And I want you to join me again tonight. And we're going to explore it. We're going to talk about that. And see, we're not getting into this. That's something that we're not going to be getting into. Just a fair warning. What I highlighted on the screen, guys. Nothing against you, Sue Shaw. I respect your beliefs and everything, but that's going to deviate us from the point. So that's all I'm saying. So we'll I don't know about all that either, Nikki. All right. I'm glad you guys enjoyed this. I had a great time, and we will do this again tonight, my friends.